If you're in a spot right now in your life where you kind of know what you want, you know what you don't want, but you're stuck, you're lost, you're not really sure how to get there, and you got this constant inner feeling of worrying about what's the next best path to take. You have all these ideas, but nothing is solidified, and you're scared of taking the wrong decision or making the wrong mistake again or finding yourself in the same loop next year. If that's you, this is going to be the training for you. And today I'm going to share with you exactly how we can get out of this funk and we can let alignment lead the way forwards. Because what if I told you that trying to figure out the how, the who, or the when isn't actually your brain's job to do? And there's something completely different that you can focus on if you truly want to transform your life and get unstuck. Let's dive into the whiteboard.
Think of it like this is at you where you're at right now, right? You're looking into your future. You have these desires, you have these goals that you want. Maybe you want to make a certain amount of money. Maybe you want a certain amount of happiness. Maybe you want to be free to travel. Maybe you want a certain love, right? And your path right now is like, okay, well, I could take the money path. I could do AI. AI is booming right now in this industry, and I could do something with AI. Or it's like, okay, well, I could play the safe path. This is what my parents did. This is what they've always pushed me to do. I could take the fear path. I could play it easy. I could do something that is the most secure and most promising. I could take the heart path, the path that my heart wants to go on. Or I could take the passion path. I could follow my ultimate passion.
So many paths to go, so many ways to go about this. And what happens is that we often just get stuck, right? We get frozen, we get stuck, and we find ourselves in the same cycle over and over and over again. Point number one is what alignment is and isn't.
There's a certain set process to what alignment actually is. Alignment is when your beliefs, your thoughts, your emotions, your actions are all in connection, all in alignment.
They're all pointing the same way. What happens to most of us and the reason why we don't change in our lives is because our mind is like, I want to make more money. I want this certain set relationship. But our belief system is like, money is evil, or I'm unworthy of love, right? Or let's say we want to make more money, for example. Everyone wants to make more money. We want to make more money. We want to get more fit, but yet we're not acting upon it. We're not trying to follow our calories so we can lose weight. We're not counting our budget. We're not watching our dollars. We're not opening up more streams of income. So we're not able to make more money. We're not taking the right actions. So there's a mismatch. There's a misalignment. And this is what we call resistance.
So, what alignment actually is again when your belief systems, your thoughts, your emotions, and actions, and even your interpretations are all in alignment with the results that you want in your life. So, for example, let's say my result I want is more money. If I want more money, then I need to believe positively about money. I need to have beliefs around abundance. I need to have positive beliefs around success, about self-worth. I need all these kind of beliefs. Now, my thoughts I need to make is that I need to think about ideas to make money. I need to think about other millionaires and other people who make money, business. I need to feel good about money, so I need to feel calm. I need to feel relaxed around money. I need to accept it into my life. I need to take action. So I need to work for it, right? Or I need to do something. I need to follow my passion. I need to create something more than I consume. And then my interpretations need to be properly aligned as well, which means, let's say right now I don't have money.
I can't just absorb that and focus on that purely and let that stay in my reality. I can acknowledge it and say, you know what, right now I don't have this kind of money. I'm not where I want to be in my life, but I'm not going to sit there and stay there and continue to focus on it. And this is what a lot of people do. It's like, I want this thing in my life so bad, but I don't have it. I don't have it. Look at my situation. This is reality for me. I'm stuck. I am broke. I am poor. I am unhealthy. I've never lost weight. I cannot change my life. And what we continue to do is we continue to focus on the things that we do not want. And somehow we find them in our lives over and over and over and over again. It's almost like the more I think about what I don't want, the more I continue to get it. So our interpretations need to be aligned as well. Now, you don't have to worry about this because when your belief systems are aligned, your interpretations will be as well. Because how you interpret things comes from what you believe to be true, your belief system. So interpretation, what I mean by that is like, for example, again, let's say the result you want in your life is more money. Well, right now, if you're broke, or let's say you just lost money, you had to pay a bill, the mindset that you would have around how you would interpret that situation is, hey, this is just an investment into my future self. Right now, I'm broke because I'm still taking action to get the results. So I just need to be patient. That is the proper interpretation that's going to allow you to stay consistent and make more money rather than I'm broke, I'll never change, I can't do this. That's a mismatch. That's not alignment. So, again, alignment is when everything is connected in the right path of where you want to go. And what most people get wrong when it comes to alignment
Is I'll draw this out for you. What most people get wrong here is again, you have the mind, we'll say the thoughts is, let's say, I want money. All right. And then your feelings right now around money is scarcity and fear. Okay. And your actions is hesitating. You're perfectionist. So instead of just trying to build that business and being okay with failing or pivoting if you need to, instead what happens is maybe we overthink it. Maybe we sit on the idea too long until eventually doubt just eats us up, right? And again, results are over here. Okay. So, and then maybe the belief is that it's not possible. So it's not possible for you. All right. It's not possible for me to make money online. It's not possible for me to.
have the best marriage and the best relationship because statistically this many people get divorced or this is what happens or this has been my past experience with men or women, right? So maybe there's a belief system that's just not even possible to get the things that we want. So this is mismatch because what you have here is that
Your mind is like, okay, this is the result I want. But your feeling is completely mismatched, right? We're in a stuck fear-based, scarcity-based state. Our actions, we are hesitating, okay? We are being a perfectionist, which is not going to allow us to get the results we want. And our beliefs are not even aligned as well.
and that is a complete mismatch. So this you often will feel this in your body as well because what happens is that your nervous system isn't attuned to it. So when your nervous system, when something isn't safe and secure, what happens is that your nervous system rejects it. It feels like a threat. It feels like something that is a scary thing. We do not accept it into our reality. So we push it away, we reject it. And this is where you feel that internally heavy breathing, brain fog. You can't think straight. You're not having creativity in your life. You're stuck in survival. That is the feeling of resistance. That's a feeling of your nervous system is not calm, cool, collected. It's not able to allow things to come into your life. Okay, so that is what alignment is and isn't.
Now, what most do and why?
So what I mean by this one is like when you're stuck in your life, when you want to make a change in your life, but you're not sure how or how to get to the thing that is that you want, this is what most people do and why we don't want to do this moving forwards. So step number 2.
Okay, first and foremost, what happens is your brain is a prediction machine. Okay. And what that means is that the past wants to be the future. Okay. Your brain wants your future to be the same as your past. The problem with that is that, let's say, for example, you have a desire to make money, right? But let's say your past, your parents always fought about money, and money equals hard. Money equals evil. Let's say your parents always had negative talks around
money, and your family always struggled with money, and you're growing up to believe that money is the root of all evil, for example, right? That's a belief system. We must remember that is not the full truth. Money just amplifies who you already are, right? So that is a belief system. So we are brought up with this past programming, okay? That becomes a part of your
belief system. This is the mismatch because, again, your belief equals money equals evil, right? So it's a mismatch because your mind equals money, I want more, right? So there's a mismatch already going on here. And then what happens is that, like I said, your brain is a prediction machine. It always wants the future to be the same as the past. Now, this is where your identity construct plays its role. So, your identity is who I believe I am. Now, how that's created is because your thoughts and emotions connected over time will start to become who you actually believe you are. So the more and more you think about who you think you are, you act upon it, you feel that way, that will become ingrained into you. That is your sense of self, your structure. And thoughts and emotions, those come from belief systems. So your core belief systems produce, they give you the thoughts that you have and also allow you to feel the emotions that you have as well, because you cannot feel an emotion randomly. It must come from an interpretation, from a meaning that's assigned to something. And that all comes from your belief system. So thoughts and emotions create identity. All right. And then this is where we really get stuck, because then the ego, we all have an ego. The ego is the glue to your book in life. It allows you to hold on to that sense of self. You have structure of who you think you are and how you function in this world. So your ego will go into the past and try to recreate that. So your ego goes into the past and tries to recreate that into the future. And it protects you with things like doubt, fear, negative self talk, things like that. It will react to things going on in your
your life, reacting as in like when something happens, right? The moment you react to it, you buy back into that story. And what I mean by that is, let's say, for example, there's a belief system inside you that you're ugly, okay? And the ego is just a protector of that because your beliefs will support you unconditionally. So, for better or worse, your belief systems are always supporting you. So, if you believe you're ugly, for example, and that's a part of your identity that you're an ugly person, you're not confident, whatever it may be, your ego is going to protect that. So as soon as someone calls you ugly, you're immediately going to react to it. The reason why you'd react to it isn't because of what they're actually saying. What they're actually saying doesn't matter. People don't make us feel things, we make ourselves feel things. So we react to that situation. As soon as we react to that situation, that's a trigger, right? But we're triggered because a part of us believes that is true. So the ego reacts to that to protect the identity. And then, maybe you scream at them, you yell at them, you freak out at them. Because if you genuinely believe that you weren't ugly, that you're beautiful, confident, amazing, whatever it may be, the opposite of ugly, right? Beliefs, for example. If you truly had those different beliefs, when someone says something like that, you wouldn't care because it's not who you are. So it's not going to affect you. So when the ego jumps in and reacts to things, it keeps that old identity, that old story alive. So the ego will take that past. So again, your family struggled with money, it was evil. Okay, that's what always has been safe to the nervous system. Safe as in, this is what's most common, this is what's most predictable, this is the environment I've grown up in. So in order for me to feel safe and secure and to predict my reality as the brain wants to, I need to find the same situation in my future. So then
what happens is that your identity, you have natural motivation, you have natural behaviors, you have natural actions, focus, and again, even how you interpret things, right? How you interpret things. All when it comes to your personal reality right now, these are all playing a factor.
these are all playing a role. So how you interpret things happening in your life, how you see it, how you feel about it, how you think about it, how you act, and how you behave, all comes from your identity, who you believe you are. And again, if who you believe you are is a construction from the past and we have not changed it, it doesn't matter if your mind wants something new, you will find yourself in the same loop over and over and over again. And your
Future will be the same as your past. And this is why, again, if you feel lost in life, it's because a part of you in your mind and your soul, it wants something new.
it wants something different. It's yearning to go on a journey. It wants you to take that trip. It wants you to start that business. It wants you to speak to that person. It's showing you the signs. It's showing you the visions. It's pushing you and pulling you. And if you don't know what you want, you at least know what you don't want, right? You know what you don't want at least. So these are all signs in trying to help you change your life. But what we do as people and how we've been programmed over time is always coming from fear, survival, safety. And we have such limiting conditioning that was brought upon us, through society, conditioning, schooling, parenting, parents not healing themselves. So they pass down their traumas. All this stuff gets passed on to us as we're children, and we grow up into the world living in this prison. That's all an illusion, all an illusion. Ideas like, and again, when I say ideas, what I mean is like beliefs like scarcity, that you're not enough, that you're not worthy, that you're alone, that you're all separated. All of these beliefs are so limiting and they drag us down. So you're sitting here now and it's like, I want to change my life. I want to do this, but you're dealing with so much resistance. Can I actually do this? Am I good enough to do this? Can I even make this happen? Will I have enough money for this? Is this even possible? So, what happens immediately is we let the ego take too much control, and the ego is just a protector of identity. But when we let the ego take control, we're always going to collapse back to fear. Because when we collapse back to fear, we go back to our comfort zone, and the comfort zone is predictable, it's safe, and secure. So this is why you might be feeling so much resistance in your life right now, because a part of you wants change so bad. You can see it, you can feel it, but the other part is fighting against it completely, and it's causing you to overthink, to procrastinate, to have all these different ideas on what to do. And now what happens is that your brain's trying to do a job it's not meant to do. It's trying to figure out the how or the when the change is going to happen, all these things, and it's just on just mental overload, right? And then again, what happens? We stay stuck. This is what we want to be careful of. This is exactly what we want to be careful of, is this cycle continuing to happen and staying alive.
So let me give you one more example of what most people typically do and then how we can change this moving forwards. All right. So let's say this is you right here. You're lost. All right. And what happens is that you'll experience pain. And when the pain of staying the same becomes stronger than the pain of change, that's when we start to change. So we experience the bad so that way we know what the good is. So that way, hopefully, it motivates us to change our lives. So you're lost in life right now. You want something more. So you're experiencing this pain of wanting, of missing something, of lacking something. And that pain motivates you to take action. And then as you take action, the goal is to get some sort of result. But the reason why we don't get results is because we have resistance. Okay. And resistance is basically just identity mismatch. What that means is that your actions are going this way, right? So your actions are now aligned with who you want to become. But your beliefs are going this way. So there's a mismatch. Who you believe you are is not aligned with the actions that you're taking. So this is the resistance wall. And this shows up as fear, as doubt, as overthinking. And your nervous system is just shot. It's just in a scared state. And all you're wanting in this moment is you're just wishing you could find some sort of results. You're wishing you could see some sort of instant gratification to prove that you're on the right path. The problem is that oftentimes change takes time in life and there's not overnight results. But again, this is what most people do. And then when they hit this resistance, typically they don't end up getting the result. Typically, what happens is that the resistance builds up so strong, we buy into this fear, we buy into the doubt, we buy into the overthinking, the self sabotage, and we go right back to the same place where we're lost. And then we go back in the comfort zone a bit. And then eventually we'll get into more pain and we take action to change. And the cycle continues over and over and over again. And this is going to continue to happen until we create alignment. Because if we're not in alignment, resistance pops up every single time. Resistance is stopping the flow that the inner part of you wants to go on. What I mean by that is like, think of this as aligned, okay? And misaligned looks like this, where the flow is still here, but you're trying to go up this way rather than going with the flow. The river is trying to go downstream and you're trying to go upstream because a part of you thinks they need to go this way. They got to force results. They got to force things to work out in a certain way. They cannot accept what is, whatever it may be. That is resistance. And resistance is just a part of you trying to stay the same. A part of you is noticing changes happening and it's trying to retreat backwards. It's trying to force things to work with the old programming rather than to change the programming so you can change your actual life. All right. And that is what most people get stuck at when it comes to trying to change their lives, what most people do. All right. So,
Number three, step number three. Why is alignment the way forwards then? So we know now why we stay stuck in these cycles. We kind of have a better understanding of why our brain does what it does, why we get stuck, why we feel this fear, why we feel so lost, why we have all these paths, but we don't act upon them consistently to get results, and why we're stuck in the same place. So, how do we change? Alignment. Alignment is going to be the way forward. But there's a very specific way to do this. It's stupid simple, but don't let the simplicity of it cause you to overthink and try something new. This is how we do it. So,
again, the first thing that we want to understand when it comes to understanding alignment is we got to reverse engineer it. So, you got to remember, you're here in this training because you want new results in your life. Either you want to feel more fulfilled, you want to feel like you found yourself, you want to feel like you're following your purpose, you want love, you want money, you want something different, but right now you're lost in your life and you don't know how to get it. Okay, well, let's look at the results and let's reverse engineer this. Tell me, how do you get new results in your life? Keep it as simple as possible. How do you get new results in life? You need to take new actions. That's the only way. You only get new results if you take new actions. You cannot think your way to your goals. So actions are needed. Okay. Now that we know this, well, what drives actions naturally?
some of you are going to think it's a plan, it's a strategy. Here's the thing, if all you needed was a plan and a strategy, you would be at your goal by now because you literally have AI. You have a superhuman at the tips of your fingers. You have something more powerful than a rocket ship at the tip of your fingers to change your life. But yet, why is so many people struggling and stuck? Why are we here today learning? Because it's not the strategy or the plan that's going to get us the change. Actions, you can only stay consistent with actions if it's in alignment with your belief system. Otherwise, you will self sabotage, you'll lose consistency, and then you'll blame it on, I'm not disciplined or I am just lazy. That's not true. It's not true. And the reason why it's not true is because, let me ask you this, if you knew guaranteed that if you showed up and did a certain set of actions for 90 days and you'd have exactly what you want, would you do it? Yes. What changed? The only thing that changed is the guarantee of the result. The only thing that changed is that you genuinely believed you're going to get the result no matter what. And that's why you took that consistent action. So, what does that mean? It means that it needs to be aligned with our belief system, alignment.
So actions consistent, okay? See, actions, consistent actions come from identity. If I'm Christian, I'm naturally going to go to church. I'm naturally going to pray to Jesus and God. I'm naturally going to read the Bible. I'm going to do that work naturally. Not it doesn't take effort. It's not hard. I would just do it because it's who I believe I am. So identity is created through thought and emotion. And this all comes from your core belief system. All right. So reverse engineer this. Beliefs create thoughts and emotions, which form identity over time. Right. And now it's like, this is who I believe I am. My ego must protect this. So we go and search for evidence for that in our future. And a part of creating evidence for that in our future is our actions. And then over time, if you stay consistent with the right actions, you are destined to get results. If you show up to work 9 to 5 every day and you take that action, you're destined to get paid for that work, right? So actions produce results in life. All right. So the only way, if you want to get new results, you need to make sure that it starts at the root. Your beliefs, your thoughts and emotions, and your actions are all in alignment. So how do we do this then? Right? How do we do this? Well, one of the easiest ways that you could do this is you start with the result and you dissect who you are now versus who you need to become. So an example is, okay, 2.0 and this is 1.0 me. And you dissect the beliefs. So let's say, for example, your goal, you want more money in your life. All right, we'll use money again. What would they believe to be true about money? Okay, they would feel free. Okay, they would believe that there is an abundance. Okay, they believe that money loves them. They believe that money flows to them. Okay. So these are the beliefs. How do you think they would feel? Well, they'd feel complete freedom. They'd feel flow. Okay. So the reason why we want to get clear on the feeling is because this is the magnet. What I mean by that is this is how the law of attraction works. You need to step into the feeling, not just the thoughts, but the feeling is one of the most important part because as soon as your body
Genuinely feel something, when you think about an image, when you think about a vision, and you start to think about it and you start to genuinely feel it, you're experiencing it in real time. And your brain doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. So the more and more you experience that, you make it safe in your nervous system and you have the right beliefs around it, naturally you're going to go on automation, automatically go and find it, go and recreate it in your real life because that is what's most safe and secure. That's what's most known and predictable. That's what the brain wants.
so step into that state. Now that you're clear on that state, we can dissect where we're at, right? We can figure out what is this gap? What is this gap? So we can figure out, okay, well, how do I feel right now? What's my most dominant state? Is it flow and freedom? No, right now I'm living in scarcity. I'm worried. Okay, that's the first place I can dissect, right? Because when I stay in that feeling of scarcity and worry, I am not aligned with what I want because my mind wants one thing, but my emotions feel the other thing. So I'm having a mismatch. There's resistance. I'm not aligned. Okay. Now, what about my beliefs? What are my beliefs around money? What are my money beliefs? Money is hard to make. Money is evil. There's not enough in this world. Okay. Well, that's a mismatch from what I want. So once, and then we can even go down the line, right? What are the actions? What actions do I, and it doesn't even matter if it's right or wrong. Just what actions do you believe you'd be taking if you are at that money goal? And what actions are you not taking right now? So write that down. Okay, well, I got one, I got two, I got three things I know. Okay, so now what you're doing is you're recognizing what is not aligned with who you want to become. Because again, we need to take the right actions if we want to change our life, right? But we can't take the right actions over time if we don't have alignment, if we don't have the right belief systems in place. So we want to dissect that. And then what you're going to notice after you do this is so now you have something to work with, right? Your 1.0 self. Now you're clear on the beliefs that are mismatched, the thoughts, the feelings. Now you're clear. The next thing that you want to focus on is getting into alignment. Okay. And here's what you want to do. So now that you know this, you want to take the 2.0 you and you want to step into the right state. The state is thought plus emotion and only do what you can handle. What I mean by that is let's say you want $1 million, but right now you are just struggling to pay your bills. When you think about having $1 million, that might just feel uncomfortable. That might feel like too much. It might feel too unrealistic.
It's okay. It just means our belief systems don't support that idea yet. But what about the belief that you are capable of making more money? What about the belief that you're capable of making double the amount you're making per month right now? Does that feel okay? Does that feel possible? That's the state that we want to adopt. We're not looking for perfection here. We're not looking to get there overnight because oftentimes what happens when we try to go 0 to 100, it just gets rejected. It's just too much to handle, especially when we're doing this alone and not getting actual coaching and guidance. So 2.0 state. You step into that state now. I have it on the backboard right there in my background. Is you get into the right state. State means my future self who already has what I want, who thinks and feels this way. How can I step into that state of being? How can I adopt that energy as close as possible? And again, if it's too much of a leap, how can I get a little bit closer? Okay, well, I am capable of making more money. That feels really good rather than I am poor and stuck. Okay, let me focus on that thought and feeling. Get into that new
State. As soon as you're in that new state, then you want to take action. Because now what you're doing is you're taking aligned action. You're acting from the state that you need to be that already has what it is that you want. So then you take action. And then what's going to happen is you're going to get two things. You're going to get results. Oops. Let me just make this a little better for you. So you're going to get results. And you're going to get something also with an R, which is resistance. Okay? Now, the resistance is there for you. Now, what is resistance? Resistance is an opportunity of growth. Resistance
basically is telling you that, like, hey, you're acting the way you want to go, but there's something that's not in alignment with where you want to go. So what we do here, instead of collapsing back to fear, we observe it, we be curious, because what's happening is that there's only resistance because a part of you feels like it's not safe to continue moving forwards in that path. A part of you believes that, hey, this is the path of most resistance, this is not safe and secure, this is not best for us. So then you can work through that resistance. You can find the limiting beliefs behind it. You can learn the lessons. You can change your patterns. You can change your actions or emotions or thoughts. And as soon as you do
that, guess what? You move closer to what you want. As soon as you work through the resistance, you want to think of it like this. So you're acting towards what you want. Okay. So the results are over here. All right. So you're acting towards what you want. You start here. And then this is the resistance bubble, right? So this is you acting. You're taking action. Then you have an identity mismatch. Identity mismatch, so then there's some sort of thing that's misaligned, there's some resistance, and then you can dissect the belief, the thought, the negative emotions, the negative actions that are not in alignment. You can change whatever one it is, and as soon as you change this part, then you continue your growth journey. You continue to get closer. And guess what? This cycle no longer needs to repeat itself because you changed. So now you get one more step closer to where you actually want to go. So that is your job. That is your job right there, which we're going to dive into here in a second. Because again, the animal brain inside of us is always thinking in terms of, I just need to change the actions. I just need to change the actions. I need to run towards this goal. And we think we're going to stay motivated, but we never do. We always burn out if we do not change the identity. We need to change the beliefs, the identity. We need that alignment if we genuinely want to change our lives. Okay. Because again, the animal brain is trying to do a job it's not meant to do, which means it's trying to predict the future. But
how do you predict a new future? When you're creating a new future, how can you predict it when you've never been there before? That's why you need to give the how and the when up to your higher mind. You need to trust that things are reorganizing for you. You need to trust that you're on the right path. You need to trust in yourself, the world. You need to have faith. And you're either trusting that it's going to work out or you trust that it's not going to work out. You never lack trust. So you might as well trust that it's going to work out for you. Because again, if you believe it's going to work out for you, your beliefs are the instructions for your brain to follow that it must follow to go recreate that in reality. So if you have that courage inside of you, if you have that faith inside of you, whatever you need, that's all you need. If you just start with that and you trust in yourself, you believe in yourself, you know that you can do it. I promise you, if you give it time, if you do your part, which I'm going to share with you here in a second what your part is, your results will come into your life. Your results will come into your life because what you want is not running away from you. So what blocks you from what you want? Yourself, ourselves. And once we work through ourselves, there's nothing else in the way.
so a new focus. Okay. A new focus. Again, before, what was keeping you stuck is figuring out the how, like, how am I going to do it? How will I do it? There's all these paths. When is it going to happen? Who? That's not your focus anymore. Okay. You need to give that up to God. You need to give that up to trust. You need to give that up to trust in your actions and who you are as a person. That's not up to you anymore. The new focus is the most important parts. Attitude. Okay. How you feel plus think. I should also say your state. All right. Action. And then reflect, review, rewire resistance.
So instead of going back to the old way, where it's like trying to do everything, trying to do everything. You're acting, right? You're feeling the resistance, you feel uncomfortable, you feel unsafe, you feel super scared, but you get in these pain grains and they motivate you to change and then you self-sabotage, right? Instead of doing that, instead of figuring out the how or the when your life is going to change and the who, your job now is to focus on the state. So attitude. So how am I thinking and feeling? Okay, how am I thinking and feeling? Because that's forming my identity, which is going to naturally influence my behaviors. So, how am I thinking and feeling? Control my state, despite, and by the way, your life still look like a mess. Your life is still going to look like a mess because it's not going to change overnight. So when you do get into alignment, it's not like your life is going to change overnight. It's your life right now is a reflection of years and years of your past actions and habits and thoughts and emotions. So you need to give it time. Just like planting a seed in the ground, you got to give it time to grow its roots so it can really break through. So that's why your job is state, right state, thinking and feeling. Get into the right state, genuinely power that piece up. After that, action. You can control your actions. Let go of expectation. Do the actions you know you can do. You don't need to figure out the next 5 steps. You just need to know what is the next singular aligned action I can take. That might even be a walk. You might even step into the thoughts and feelings of wanting to make that more money. And that might then influence you, that natural pull, that intuition, like what should I do next? What's the next aligned action from the state? That might push you to go do a walk. But guess what? On that walk, you might have $1 million idea. You might have a conversation with a millionaire who then leads you to the next opportunity. So you cannot have certain set judgments or expectations over the next aligned actions because, again, you're not trying to predict anymore because you can't predict it because you're creating a new future. So you got to let that go. You have to trust in what you're doing. And the way that you can do that is trust in the system of how you create your personal reality, which is beliefs, thoughts, emotions, actions, results. Results can only occur from actions, and consistent actions can only occur from the right identity, which comes from your belief systems. So trust in that general process. And if you can trust in that and you can do your part, your life will change in time. I've seen it hundreds of times. I used to own a coaching, or I still own, but I owned it, and it was my full-time business, a weight loss coaching business, and we've helped over 500 clients. And this is the work that we did. And we had over an 80% success rate when 90% of people typically in the industry fail to lose weight long term. But when you adopt the right identity, who you believe you are, it will back you up over and over again and recreate the reality that it believes it needs, it believes it is. So your focus here is, again, attitude, state, then action. And then as you do that, reflect, review, and rewire. When you feel the resistance, do not react back to it because that pulls you back to that old life, right? You review it, you reflect upon it, you observe it, you change it because beliefs can change, they're not solidified. So you let go of limiting beliefs, you let go of the fears, you rewire, you embody that, and you continue to act. If you do that, your life will change. You will no longer feel like you're lost. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the training for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy this. If so, make sure you leave a comment down below. What hit home the most for you? And also like and subscribe for more. And I'll see you on the next training every single Monday and Thursday.